Hey everyone, and welcome back. It's another week here with Moving to Georgia. I am Sarah Mislowski, your North Metro Atlanta real estate agent. Today, we are going to be diving into all the reasons why some of my biggest area that I get clients from is California. And we have a good treat for you today. I have an agent joining me today on the live stream. Welcome, Angel Przybylski. We practice this, or I practice this, not
You
enough.
gave it a good shot. You gave it a good
Yeah.
shot.
Welcome. Thank you for
Thank
joining me.
you. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be on your channel. I'm sure there's a lot of fellow Californians that are like, "Oh, I know where she's from." Not because I'm something, but just because they know Bakersfield, they know California. So, yay.
Yeah, thanks for joining. So you're in Bakersfield, California, which people that are not from California, where is that on the map?
So we are basically smack in the middle of the state. I'm 4 hours from like San Francisco, San Jose, the Bay Area, and I'm 4 hours from San Diego and that Southern California, and then I'm about 2 hours from like Hollywood.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
we're smack in the middle. 2 hours to the ocean, 2 hours um to the mountains, and then like pretty much all of the produce that is probably in your house, or
Okay.
the nuts that you might eat, or the dairy that you might be having in your house, or some beef is from my backyard. Not
Interesting. So
literally, but
I nuts and maybe like fruits and vegetables make sense, but I guess I wouldn't make the correlation of dairy or beef.
yeah, we are heavy in ag, heavy in oil because we're the oil capital of the state of California, and
Right.
produce. Yep. Your
Okay.
pistachios are probably grown right up the street.
Got it. Um, let's see here. So, if you are just joining us here on the live stream, welcome and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Drop a line below. I'd love to see if we have anyone from California that's joining us today.
Yeah.
So we've got Angel, a great agent in Bakersfield, California, and we were talking previously about how we have great last names for real estate agents.
Yeah, there's no missing us. I usually just tell people Angel P because it's a mouthful. I mean, my husband's cute, tall, dark, and handsome. He was worth my name change, but my goodness, it's okay. Angel P, you'll get a hold of me. There's not a lot of Angel P in real estate. So, yeah, it's easy
Yeah.
peasy.
So I did not know prior to us connecting that you could even pronounce your last name with an S. And, I learned something today.
There you go.
So,
Go
yes,
Sarah.
we both married into our last names. They're Polish last names.
Yep.
And whenever I made the career transition from being a teacher into real estate, and I was trying to realize that like most real estate agents, you're branded as yourself. And I was like, oh my gosh, Miss Lowski is a terrible last name to be a real estate agent. And I thought
Sorry,
I had it
husband.
bad, but you take the cake, or at least, you can have fun with it. Just throw a bunch of letters together and
Yeah.
consonants with one
Yeah.
vowel.
People
Wow,
always go, I'd like to buy a vowel. I'm like, I know. I
that's a good
know.
joke. I like that.
So tell me,
That's
how many
really
Californians have you served? Because I'm sending a lot of them. I mean, I'm a native, I get it, but we Californians in real estate, we have to read the room. And a lot of us are moving to the South.
yeah.
Have you
Um,
helped?
that is a good question. I don't keep track
Mm.
of like stats of exactly where everyone's coming from, or what states, but we should probably. But I feel like so yes, so our top three states that we help the most people from are California, Florida, and New Jersey.
Wait, Florida? I thought nobody left
Yeah.
Florida.
So, and what's funny is that whenever you look at data, so I was looking at, let me see if I can pull this up, um, an article about kind of, all the states that people are leaving California from
Ooh,
and
look at
going
this.
to. I thought for sure that Georgia was going to be on that map or on this list of the top 10 states, just because I feel like, every other phone call I have with clients is from California. But Florida is one of the top places, along with Texas. And it's funny to me that so many people are interested in Texas and Florida because it's just so hot. And Texas to me seems boring. Like, what do you do in Texas?
Well, I think really Californians, weather and bugs. I mean, to
Right.
be honest, it's weather and bugs. And we are, if we're a native, we are addicted to multiple days of sun. If we have more than 2 or 3 days of like crappy, icky gray weather, we get pissy. And we certainly want nothing to do with bugs that fly or bugs with weird legs. So Florida has bugs with legs and Texas has bugs that fly. But for the most part, they're going mainly for not only the tax reasons, of course, as we'll talk about, but the sun. It's
Yeah.
really the sun. I mean, you don't live in California and not get addicted to seeing bright, beautiful sunshine every day. And it's really, really a challenge when people move from other areas. They're like, obviously it makes you optimistic, but it also makes you feel like I better go do something. I need to go. It's pretty outside. I gotta, I gotta go do something.
Yeah. Uh, well, and I've never thought about that. I was scrolling on TikTok and came across, oh, she was the Bachelorette, and now she lives in Nashville. Hannah, Hannah Brown. But she had just, I think she lived in California for a couple of years, and she
People
was
are
saying how
blowing
she
up your
felt like
comments going, yes, no.
that she had a seasonal depression
Mhm.
because, um, she didn't realize how much she got used to seeing sun all
Yes.
the time.
Yes.
And I was like, "Oh, that's very interesting. I've never thought about that."
I mean, here in Bakersfield, we have over 300 days of sun. And
Wow.
those 2 months-ish, 2.5 months, people get grumpy. They're like, where's the
So
sun?
do you miss having, like, winters or wearing, like, winter
Oh, it gets
gear or
cold. Oh, it gets cold, but it's
okay.
just cold and gray and
I sound
bleh.
like a very uneducated,
It's
Southern
fine.
here.
It's
Does it
fine.
really get
No,
cold
I
in
mean,
California? So what is cold to you?
well, okay, and when I used to live in Southern California, cold is like 50s because,
Okay.
it's coastal. Now that I live here it's called the Central Valley of the state of California, the San Joaquin Valley, cold is like, high 20s, low 30s, usually the low
Okay.
30s because the fruit, again, you just learn your area, right? Like they have to get the sugars of the fruit to get a certain temperature.
Okay.
I'm probably pissing off some agriculture person. It's got a very technical name. I don't know it. I'm not in ag, but it's called they look for the freeze and it's usually in January, February, and we're in the low 30s. And I'm like, oh, I mean, sometimes the sun will come out, but mainly it's just cold and bad. So we're like, come on, February, because February, it's like, sun's back. Yay. We're
Yeah,
happy
that's
again.
interesting. I would never have thought that that area gets that cold. So, for me, most of the clients that I help relocating from Florida, they're tired of the heat and like the
Mm.
oppressive, constant heat, humidity. Southern parts of Florida can get so hot that it's just unbearable to be outside. I visit my friend. We go on a beach trip every July down to like Siesta Key, Florida. So
Oh,
that's just like south of Tampa.
okay.
And it gets so hot during that time that, like after you're out in enjoying the sun on the beach for like more than like an hour or two, it's like that's all you can take, really.
I'm
Uh,
done.
yeah,
Time to come
like
inside.
it's just so hot.
Yeah.
So heat, weather, hurricanes, insurance cost, all of those things. And um, that's why we get so many people from Florida, but yet so many people are also moving to Florida. So it's
Yeah.
interesting to me that it's one of the top states that we get people from.
But wait a minute. You're in the North Atlanta metro area, right?
Yes. Yes.
Atlanta's nickname is called Hot Lanta. Y'all get hot.
That is true, and, we get 4 seasons, which is
What?
nice, so it's
Yeah.
not like, sticky, not dry, sticky, like, humid heat that
Okay.
you get in South Georgia, so, yeah, I mean, we do have some hot days in the summer, and just north of Atlanta, you're kind of, like, at the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains, so you get a little bit of a breeze in the summer, pretty much year round, and so, and you get to experience 4 seasons, so I grew up in South Georgia, which there was not 4 seasons, there's 2 seasons, like hot and less hot. Um, Yeah. And snow was like such a novelty, and it still is a novelty here.
So where are the Californians that you're helping? Are they coming from Northern or Southern California? Or have you had any from my backyard? Have you had any from the Bakersfield or Central Valley area?
I don't think I've had anyone from the Central Valley area,
Okay.
but it's all been kind of Southern California and then a few clients up in the northern part of California.
And
Um,
you guys mentioned you mentioned your taxes. So Californian, we are like taxed top to bottom, inside and out. And so any state that we can look at when you're looking at a certain demographic of people that are looking at retiring or retirement, and they're like, what's going to happen? Like, am I just going to fund every program, or am I actually going to be able to like enjoy the monies that I've worked all these years for? Georgia
right.
comes up high because you guys have low. Do you, is it you that has no state income tax, or you have very low state income
Um,
tax?
we have low state income tax. We
Okay.
also have like most counties here have pretty generous property tax breaks for seniors.
There you go. Oh,
And
you get a different one for a senior? What? Tell me
yes,
more.
yes. So a lot of counties, once you reach the age of 62, there's partial exemptions and then kind of some full exemptions happen at 65 or 70.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
so it eliminates the school portion of the property tax bill, which is makes up about 60% of the cost of the bill.
That's
So
smart.
yeah, so I ran some numbers on for a client yesterday, and they're moving from Florida here to Georgia, and the house had senior exemptions, so it was valued at like 675, and the sellers were currently paying $1,200 for the whole year for their
Okay.
property tax bill. And without the senior tax exemption, we calculated it would be about $6,000. So it's a significant savings that you get
There
on
we
property
go.
taxes. Now, each county varies, so you have to kind of look into that, and some are more friendly to seniors than others, but that is a huge benefit.
Wow.
Yes.
And how is the homeowners insurance in Georgia? Are you guys still having the big dogs like State Farm and Farmers and that, or are they
Yeah, so we're not having anybody pull out of the state as we're seeing like in
California?
Florida and parts of California. A
Yeah.
recent development has been that insurance companies are cracking down on roof claims. So, a popular thing here in Georgia is to get your roof replaced through a homeowner's insurance claim because we have a lot of storms. And so there's a lot of wind and hail damage that happens over time.
Okay.
And I guess because certain insurance companies are so cash strapped from things that have happened in other states, this is my understanding of it, that they are really starting to be very, very picky about the type of policy that they write. So it was very common for them to write a full replacement value policy for roofs. Now they will only give you the remaining life that's left on the roof on the time that you
As a
buy
credit
the
to the
house.
new one?
Correct. So they won't give you full replacement value, but they'll just say, let's say that there's, 5 years left on the roof, they'll give you that 5-year value of whatever the full roof replacement cost would be. Now, not every insurance company is doing this. And, you just have to do a little bit of extra due diligence whenever you're buying a home right now to make sure that the roof is in good shape. The roof is less than 10 years old, ideally. And if it's not, then we want to make sure that we're putting you with a good insurance company that will write that full value. But overall, homeowners insurance, I feel, is from what I hear from my clients that I serve, that it's very reasonable. Um,
It's becoming it's I have so many questions about the roof situation. The first thing I would say is here in our contracts, homeowners insurance is becoming a right of cancellation in that if it's not one of the first things that you take care of throughout the like within the first contingency period of 17 days, it's a right of cancellation for the sellers.
wow. Okay.
It's that significant. And
Interesting.
then second thing is, do you guys not have 30-year roofs? We have 30-year roofs. You said 10.
Yes. And
You're like, and kind of maybe sort of.
they're 20 to 30-year, some of the newer shingles that have been put on in the
Okay.
past 10 years are 20, 30-year shingles.
Okay.
And most roofs don't really last until 30 years. I mean, they can,
Right.
but they're
Not
showing
typically.
significant wear and tear once you
Sure.
get past the 20-year mark.
Do you guys
We've got
have
net
solar there?
We do not.
And do you think that's
So
because of your weather? because solar is a conversation here, whether you want it to be or not. But you guys don't, probably because of your hail and weather, I would imagine it'd probably just be sucked off the house. What would happen?
Yes. So our energy costs here, so every now and then you'll see a home with solar, but for us, it's a huge deterrent for a lot of home buyers to buy a house with solar because usually there's still a huge loan balance where the seller has financed the solar.
Yeah,
And because our electricity cost here is pretty low, it doesn't quite make sense mathematically to install solar panels unless you're going to
hang on, hang on. That's me.
stay
My
there a
apologies.
really long time. We
Hang
have
on.
someone watching us from England. Hey, Meg, thanks
Praise
for
the Lord.
joining us on the live stream. I don't know that I've ever had anyone from England that has told me they're from England. So I'm happy to have you on. Thank you.
Hang on. I'm having technical difficulties.
No
1 second.
worries.
You can drop me out if you want to
Do I
talk
need to
through it.
or you want me
Yeah,
to?
just for a hot second.
Okay. But yeah, I'm so thankful for everyone joining us on the live stream tonight. Um, Derek is joining us, and we just helped his family, he and his wife, close on a brand new construction home last week, and they found a fantastic house in a great neighborhood. So we're happy to welcome them here in just a few short weeks as they make the final transition from Colorado here to Gainesville. If you're watching us on the live stream now, and if you have any questions about making a move, what's going on in the market, have any thoughts or opinion, please drop those in the comment. We want to make sure that we answer your questions and talk about what you have to say. Lone One asks, you've seen metal roofs in Florida. Can you get them in Georgia? You can, and they're not as popular as what they are in Florida. I mean, you definitely see them occasionally, and I would have to ask my roofing company that I do a lot of business with to ask them kind of why it's not more of a thing here. It's a good thought. I don't know why it's more of a thing. Can't think of any reason. Um, maybe because we have so many HOAs here that maybe HOAs won't allow a metal roof due to aesthetic reasons. That's a good one. I'll have to find that out. Stay tuned next week and we'll get you a good answer for that. All right.
I'm
Looks
back.
like you're back, Angel.
I had some technical difficulties.
No
Sorry.
worries.
I think I got it fixed.
A viewer here that lives in Alpharetta and a loyal viewer, he moved out from LA to Alpharetta in 1993 and he loves it. So glad we moved out of LA, much higher standard of living here in Georgia.
Praise the Lord. Go you. Been there a while. He's a native now. Been there since 93.
Yeah, right.
Georgia
Yeah.
native.
Now
Yeah.
you can call yourself a Georgian for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
What is the industry there that you guys have? I know Atlanta is a very large metro area, but what is drawing people there from California?
Sure. So most of the people that we see coming here, in my experience, sometimes we have younger families definitely looking,
That
either
would be
they're
nice.
working remotely and so they can choose to live wherever. And so it's either cost of living, can't afford a house in California,
Yeah.
or they're really seeking out an area with great schools. So that's a huge motivating factor. We do have a lot of clients that work remotely, and there are a lot of tech jobs in the area.
Oh, good.
And there's not really one driving industry that is driving it, but we have a lot of healthcare jobs here. School systems are a huge employer.
Sure.
Yeah. A,
The
a lot of
the
there's some
general
manufacturing
thing.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that
Well,
in the areas I live.
I chatted with another agent in North Carolina, and she mentioned that Lee Brown, you probably know who she is.
Yes. Yeah.
She mentioned that like Toyota was getting ready to do some $1 billion thing. So that's all I was asking was like, is
Sure.
there something kind of like, you know, how in Austin, like Elon did the, 17-mile long
Yes.
facility or whatever the heck.
Right.
Something like that is all I was asking. But
Yeah. So
work
Rivian
is work is
announced that
work.
they were so Rivian announced that they were building a manufacturing facility kind of just east, like an hour east of Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
And so that's been in the works for the past couple of years. But then this year they just recently announced a couple of weeks ago that they are backing out and halting that project.
Right.
So I think a lot of people were very excited, and it would have been great for the area. It was a little bit more rural. But we do have a lot of like battery factories and other types of jobs manufacturers that facilitate electric cars and just the car industry in general.
Yeah.
So because we're on a big interstate that runs through Georgia, and it's a big kind of logistics transportation hub as
Yeah.
well, lots of Amazon facilities. So
Yes. I think we all have an Amazon in our backyard. We've got two warehouses here.
yes,
And I think there's whispers of a third. I'm like, because how much are we ordering? Like, for crying out loud.
my
Okay.
husband says, you must be busy with work when you haven't had any Amazon deliveries lately. So,
Yeah.
but
That's
it's also,
awesome.
it's so convenient. But I'll get something in the mail from Amazon, and Tom, my husband, will get mad at me. He's like, you made an Amazon person deliver like this $5 thing. And
Well,
I'm like, well, yes, because then I don't have to go to the store and it saves me time, and it
I
all
don't know
adds
how
up.
they train those Amazon people. If I order something like this, the box is like this. I'm like, who did the ratio there? Like, how does that work?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I
It's this
agree.
big.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Um, so talk to me about the clients that you work with that you see that are leaving California, or especially your area. Tell me a little bit more about what you're seeing as the common reasons, and
Yes.
or, how is that impacting the area, or is it just kind of equal in terms
Yeah.
of people moving in and out?
Great questions. So, generally speaking, the clients that I help leave California are wanting um, less taxes, better quality of life, more ability to enjoy without just feeling like they're having to, whether they be close to retirement, kind of like me. I'm a Gen Xer. So, like, we're kind of like, ooh, it's not that far away. Ooh, la, la, what's that going to look like? Or if they're already in that, how many kids, how many grandkids and kids can they get to move with them, where they can either move to, like, okay, I did have one family that moved and they were in a 55 and older community, and then the family obviously wasn't, but they were, spitting distance away from
Sure.
the grandparents, which is very, very important. I think quality of life for both of them, as you discussed, school districts, employment. COVID was a hot mess. I call COVID a thief, but what COVID, because it stole so much from so many
True.
people.
Yeah.
What it did do was it made people be able to live anywhere and work
Yeah.
remotely. And so the quality of life that comes from being able to work remotely, make the kind of money, if the company is based out of California or does a lot of business in California, and you can live in a state like Georgia and be near grandparents, and they're not, living in your backyard because they can't
Right.
afford the state anymore.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of reasons to do it.
Yeah. A viewer asked, "What are you considering a senior citizen in Georgia?"
I think she said
So,
62, right?
yeah, yeah. So most counties will give that break starting at 62. So that's what they consider it. Yeah.
Truth. I like that guy's name.
Right. So one of the things that I have found very interesting, so you are serve Bakersfield, and you have a great YouTube channel.
Oh,
So
you're sweet.
you attract a lot of great people that are, relocating and moving to Bakersfield. And so I'm sure that you have these same experiences, but I love learning from clients of what they see as things that are different in my area versus where they come from. And
Yes.
one of the things that comes up again and again and again from my clients from out of state, especially from California, is they always comment, usually unprompted, or say, like, what do you notice, as a difference between, there and here?
Yeah.
And they say, like, just how friendly everyone is, from, the cashier at the grocery store to, a server,
Right.
just to people just that you pass in your neighborhood, that they'll smile and wave and say hello,
Yeah.
which we talk about Southern hospitality as a thing, but I didn't quite understand that it was that apparent to outsiders or newcomers to the area.
Well, I think generally speaking, most people want to help others and they want to be kind. But so often, sadly, it's taken advantage of. So it's not that we're not kind, we're just really reserved about being kind because it backfires so often, sadly.
Mhm.
But so when you go to an area, like North Carolina, like Georgia, like Florida, and your people are just like, we're just friendly. It takes Californians probably a couple, like, wait, they don't, nothing bad's gonna happen, and I'm friendly, like, so it's exactly that, is like, oh yeah, we're not we're not needing to be worried anymore. And I
Yeah.
say that as a native. I mean, I'm being very, very honest. It is tragic what has happened to my home state. Tragic.
Mm,
The cost of living, the crime, the homelessness, tragic. But I can tell you that a large portion of the people that have been here a long time, like myself and beyond, we don't we don't think the same way or live the same way as the people that make the rules up in the capital.
got it.
So that's what I know that we natives are fighting for, is like we're not all like that. I promise. I promise. So when we go to an area like your backyard and we're like, "Oh, yay, people are still lovely and kind and thoughtful and considerate." It's like, "Oh, yay. We're
Right.
back to old school," and it feels good again. And I think that's
Yeah.
what people want, is they want to feel good again. As a native, one of the things that we struggle with is just like feeling good about where we live. And I say that with broken heart and open arms to people that want to move here. It's like, I get it. I get it so much. But people that can't, like, back to the grandparents, they can't leave. They don't want to be away from the grandkids
Right.
3,000 miles away. They
Yeah.
can't, or else
Right.
they'll never see them. So they have to stay, and they have to endure some of the stuff that we don't have a voice in sometimes. And that's the
Gotcha.
part that's
Yeah.
hard to watch.
Yeah, that is
Sorry,
hard.
not trying to be a downer, but it's the truth.
Well, yeah. Well, if you're just joining us, welcome. And we are diving into all the reasons why people are moving from California and where they're going, and why so many of my clients are, Californians who are now Georgians. And we've got Angel, a great agent from Bakersfield, California, with us. So if you have any questions about making a move or questions about the market, buying a house, selling a house, now's the time to ask it, and we're going to make sure that we answer that. Or if you've made the move from California or have any experiences that you would love to share, let us
Yeah,
know in the comments so that we can
please.
talk about it and get your opinion on things. We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Absolutely.
So what is the average price of a house in Bakersfield?
Well, it's interesting. Our median sales price, which means higher and lower, is like, last time I looked, it was 397. But here's
Okay.
a fun fact. Speaking of the our buyer pool, to use my real estate talk, our buyer pool is from Northern and Southern California predominantly,
Okay.
because they're moving out of the crazy and they want just a life, and they're staying in the state. Um, in the month of February, wait, what are we? April? Yeah. So the month of February, the stats came out in March. So the month of February, we had the most properties that were listed for over $1 million, and 30% of those were sold in cash.
Wow.
So there are some big dog properties here available, acreage and multifamily and next gen living and beyond. I mean, just, we're talking multi-million-dollar properties.
Right.
Um, that they're going faster than some of the, $350,000 houses. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. That
So
is
yeah,
crazy.
our buyer pool has no problem spending money because they're going to get a ton of value and still be able to stay in California. So
Yeah.
yeah,
That does
it's
make
awesome.
sense. So here in my area, it varies based on where you're at in the North Metro Atlanta area. But if we're looking at specifically Gainesville, where I live,
Mhm,
the median sales price of a home here is about 350, 375.
mhm.
Uh, but one of the things that's happened over the past couple of years, which I'm sure, well, your area has seen this too, but home prices have risen, quite a lot.
Yeah, thank
And,
you.
I was talking with a client the other day who's thinking about making a move from New Jersey,
Mhm.
and they've made several trips to look, and they were planning on coming for another trip. And so I had the conversation like, hey, are we getting any closer to maybe like making the move? And they wanted to go out and tour a bunch of houses again.
Right.
And he's like, well, we're still really trying to get comfortable with the idea. And, I'm looking for a deal. I don't, I look at these home prices and I see what, someone paid for it back in 2019, 2020, and here they are selling it a couple of years later and they've tacked on $400,000, and I'm just not going to do that.
Mhm.
And I was like,
Isn't
okay.
that adorable? Isn't that
Ye-
adorable? We just
So,
we just
and I was
made
like,
up that 400,000, like.
yeah. And I was like, okay, well, we are going to have to wait until the market's a little bit different. And
Mhm.
really that's just realtor speak for it's never going to be different. And
Right.
you're just gonna have to come around to, accepting that these are the home prices.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting to me. I get it from a buyer perspective. Like everyone
Sure.
wants a deal, right?
Sure.
No one wants to feel like they're overpaying for something. And at the same time, if everyone's paying these prices and home prices continue to go up and up and up and up, how long are you willing to wait until you see a decrease? And then also your home value likely would see the same decrease. So it's kind of all one and the same.
Yes.
Um, and I
It's
don't
like
know
the
if I'm
conversation that when you wear a cute outfit, you know, when you see somebody in a really cute outfit, you're like, "Oh, I bet that's a size 6." Right? Like, you don't go, "Oh, it would be really cuter if it was a size 10." Like, you don't look at people like that. You just go, "Oh, cute
right.
outfit. Oh,
Yeah.
beautiful home."
Right.
Nobody looks at your home and says, "Oh, it should probably be $30,000 cheaper." Well, it has value to me. It looks good to me. It feels good on
Right.
me and my family. I'm gonna pay this because I want the house. So it's
Yeah.
kind of that, mindset. I always say they don't want it bad enough. When I have those conversations with buyers, I'm like, they don't want it bad enough because COVID did that. We didn't do it. We realtors didn't do it. Our industry just went up. And I don't understand the thought process of trying to wait for a crash because that means a lot of people are about to be hurt. And I don't get that mindset of like, let's wait till everybody's in a bad situation and then I'll take advantage of it. Like that doesn't make sense to my brain. Like, why would you do that? Just and the third thing I say is it's not your forever home unless you want it to be, but generally speaking, and you probably have this in your area, 3 to 5 years. And then you reevaluate and you move up, you move down, you move over, you move out. Like a lot happens in 3 to 5 years. We've seen that.
Sure. And if it is your forever home, it's only going to get more expensive. So why not
Right.
go ahead and get it now? Um,
Exactly.
yeah, it is hard to understand.
Mhm.
And yeah, like you said, they don't want it bad enough, or the motivation isn't there enough. But it's also
Right.
one of these hard conversations as a realtor because you're like, I okay, we've already spent 2 weekends together, and we can't really do a third unless we're
Yeah.
actually going to be, seriously considering these homes to actually, you know,
Yeah.
pick one and make an offer. So that's, I still run into some clients with that are, thinking about making a move and not quite understanding how home prices have adjusted and changed here.
Yeah, absolutely. And we deal with that anywhere. But I think I totally agree with you. It's like, okay, well, we can't just keep trying on these clothes. We have to
Yeah.
actually
No.
like we have to cross the threshold and make an offer. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously the rules have changed now in our industry in California, and I'm sure it's the same in Georgia. We can't show a single house until we have some certain paperwork signed that says, "Hey, I'm going to work really, really hard for you to get you into the house and be your guide all the way through it, and you're going to work really, really hard and stick with me until we do that."
Yeah.
So, like, I'm sure that's your we call it a buyer broker. I don't know what you guys call it
Or
there,
yeah,
but like
that we have the same.
that's and it's because we don't wanna just shop weekend after weekend after weekend, like, we have a job to do. We have a brokerage that we work for, and that's what we're hired to do.
Yes.
Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that.
That's right. So, Alex, he said he's happy with the cost of living in Georgia. And, I think this was in response to my comment about how home prices have gone up, how
Mhm.
the end of the middle class has begun. And, I am seeing two very different real estate markets here.
Oh,
It's the people that are moving from out of state where the cost of living here and the home that they sold where they're living and they've got so much equity out of that home that they can afford the much higher price points here and they're happy with the square footage and the neighborhood of what you get comparatively from where they're coming from.
sure.
And then we have, the first time home buyers who are trying to find their first house and it's almost impossible to, meet the requirements that they want, or it's an extreme fixer upper or just needs a lot of love. And, it's really hard because it as a real estate agent, you wanna help meet everyone's goals,
Yeah.
but I am seeing in our area, and I don't know how it is with you, but it's really, really hard to find that good first-time home buyer home in areas that people really wanna be without having to drive a little bit for work or
Right.
those sorts of things. Are you seeing that where you
100%. Yeah, and I would much rather give it to Joe and Susie first time home buyer than one of the big 3 come in and flip it and make it a rental forever and ever, amen. I would
Yes.
much rather write the cleanest, tightest, strongest offer I possibly can to get them that, give them the moon, right? As much as we possibly can afford and give so that it stays in the hands of homeowners, not
Right.
the big three, the big corporations that just make my blood boil. But you guys are seeing it in the South. I mean, there's data, all kinds of data and stories out there about, and videos, um, about how they're swooping into entire communities and just being like, thank you. And I'm like, no, 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 go away. go,
So
go away.
one of the things that's become, I don't want to say popular, but we're seeing more and more happen are these new construction neighborhoods being built that are owned by rental companies and they're
Yep,
building to rent.
the big three.
So, yeah,
Yep.
they are only building these neighborhoods just to make them as rentals. And you drive by them and you're like, oh, these are great houses. I would love to sell these to my clients. And then you see, like, oh, it's going to be a rental community.
A rental
And
community. Say those words out loud again.
I
A
know.
rental the correlation, have you ever seen the movie It's a Wonderful Life?
Yes.
I always make the correlation of Pottersville, where, Mr. Potter wanted everybody to be his tenants and he was a slumlord. And that that's the correlation. I'm like, we're not all going to live in Pottersville. Like, no, we want our own house with George Bailey as our lender, all that.
Yes.
That's the correlation in my mind. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
rental
And
communities.
I understand that there's gotta also be, great options for people who don't wanna buy or maybe don't have, the down payment and everything to make buying happen,
Yeah.
and yet at the same time, it also makes it seem like that we're just making it harder and harder and harder
Yeah.
to be able to buy a first home and enter the market.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I tell my first time home buyers that we're really kind of struggling to make that entry
Hmm.
is you just have to get your first house and build that equity and do what you
Yes.
can and
Yes.
just know that this is not your forever house. This is the
Yes.
starter house that's going to
Yes.
help, and it's going to look a lot different than what they think that it's gonna look like in their mind,
Yes.
because oftentimes they're getting advice from their parents, and their parents' expectation of what that house should be or what they should be able to get is
Right.
drastically different because the market and the times are just so different. And
Right.
so oftentimes I'm battling the advice or the expectations that their parents may have for them,
Yeah.
and to tell them like, just get in, live in this for a couple of years, and let's make the money off of this house to roll into your next one.
Yeah. Yeah. And because once you're in the market, you're probably not ever going to leave it. So once
Right.
you get in it, and if you have to bring in the grandparents and go something a little bit like a next gen home, I don't know if they call them next gen there, but next gen living, like,
Right. Yeah.
everybody's under one roof ish.
Multi-generational living is,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Multi gen. Yeah. Sometimes if that's what it takes, okay. Like, it's okay. It's not going to be forever.
Yeah. DeTruth has a really good question. She
The
says that
truth. I
she
like that guy or girl.
owns my home. So maybe like it was inherited or given to you, but you didn't buy it. If I purchase a house in Georgia, will I still be considered a first time home buyer? So great questions. And here's the thing is that it doesn't matter if you're a first time home buyer or second, third, fourth, you're buying your fifth house at this point. Um, when most real estate agents refer to first time home buyers, they don't have, they're not selling. I'm assuming that you might be selling your house where you currently live and you're going to be making a good chunk of money off of that. And most people then use that money as their down payment for their next house. Well, first time home buyers, they don't have that benefit of having a large asset that they can sell, to have money for that down payment. So they're just saving money, where they can from extra funds that they have from their paycheck, which, as we know
Right.
right now with inflation, for a lot of people, that's really hard to do.
Yeah.
So it just makes it a lot more challenging for a first time home buyer if they don't have a large down payment, um, or any money saved for a down payment. It can make that finding that house that works with the financials, with the money that they do have, it can make it very difficult to find a home. So that's really the challenges that we're referring to when it comes to first time home buyers. So you would not be considered a first time home buyer, even though technically you've never bought a home, but obviously you would want to be educated and work with a great agent that can help you, just like you were a first time home buyer, because it would technically be your first time buying a house.
Well, and in the truth's situation, I don't know if it's a boy or girl. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Um, you might want to actually do a little bit more digging, because somebody like Sarah would be able to help you with making sure that if that home that you do have to sell was inherited, you could be sitting with a very large tax burden. And so you might need to see if you qualify for any kind of first time home buyer programs or anything, so that you don't get hit with this giant tax burden, assuming you're going to take some proceeds from that sale and buy that house. You might be able to work with a professional. We are realtors. We are not tax advisors,
Yeah.
but to make sure that those numbers don't just put a big old fat target on your back for you to pay Uncle Sam. Like, definitely worth investigating, because sometimes when you inherit a home, it's lovely, and that's called generational wealth. And you would probably want to do that with, the Truth's family, but you want to make sure that you do that wisely, and making sure that you're not being walloped with taxes is a big thing you want to take care of. But definitely, yeah, to Sarah's point, like, go for it, because you need to do it for sure.
Alex has a good point here. And I love this term. I don't know if you use this, but I
Yeah.
stole this from an agent friend in Chicago. He calls it the granny special. And
Yeah.
that's where you buy grandma's home. I have some clients doing this right now.
Mm,
And I didn't just make this connection until it reminded me, but they are buying the granny special. It's a
uh-huh.
home that's been well cared for, and you can usually tell it right away, right? When you walk in, it's going to be spick and span clean,
Yep.
but there's going to be wallpaper on the walls.
Yeah.
And, it might have old wood paneling, and nothing's really been updated, but the appliances all still work and the outside is meticulously, cared for.
Yep.
And this particular house had grandma's box of records sitting on the countertop of when they bought everything, the manual for the stove, the
Yes.
manual for the old microwave. And
Yes, and it's probably avocado green, right? It's probably a double oven. It's avocado green. It's probably,
yeah,
you know?
but that is it, that's a great granny special. That's the house you want to buy, because then you can go in and put your own spin on it,
Yes.
update the paint colors, make it a little bit more updated, and you're instantly going to have the home's going to be more value, because a lot of people just kind of look at those things and they're like, oh, I don't want to live in that house.
Yeah.
But they don't know that that house is probably in way better condition and shape than a house that was built 20 years
Last
ago.
year. Yeah, or last year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, good bones is the key there, because it's probably got a floor plan that they wouldn't even imagine doing. It might have an arched doorway that they wouldn't imagine doing. Might have pocket doors that they just don't even make in new construction anymore. Might have
Sure.
a step down or a step up. Again, they just don't build houses like that anymore. And it's
Yeah.
just based on the style and the I don't know, builder codes or whatever. They just kind of all start to look the same, just
Right.
specific to this area where they are. But yeah, those kinds of things are cool, little railings. And I always say, oh, somebody's Nana used to live here. Someone's Nana was here.
Um,
Yeah, there you go.
Lone ones at older homes are solid. And
Yeah,
yes, that is very much true. And so that brings me to a good question, Angel. Do y'all have a lot of new construction in your area? Is that
we
even an
do.
option?
We do. I was talking about our buyer pool. So for those that aren't in real estate, buyer pool means, where are we getting all the people? Who's moving here? So the buyer pool coming from Northern and Southern California, they're, like you talked about before, being priced out, brand new construction, and it's a townhome that's, your backyard is the size of this. Like,
Right.
okay, and that's 850,000. And then they come to Bakersfield and they're like, wait, what? For 850,000 I can get a half acre and blah blah blah. So yeah, I forgot the question. What'd you just ask me?
Well, asking if there's new construction options,
Oh
but
yes,
that
new construction.
reminds me of something that's good.
Sorry.
When I talk to clients from California, I'll ask them, what's your ideal yard size? What would you like in a yard? And they'll say, oh, and you'll see how uneducated I am. They'll say, oh, our current yard is about 10,000 square feet.
Hmm.
I'm like, square feet. And I'm like over here, like pulling up the converter on Google, trying to see what that is in acreage, because we don't we don't have lots that small.
Yes,
We're just used
exactly.
to acreage, or like a quarter acre, third half. Um,
10,000 is a quarter. Yeah.
okay, yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That's funny. In my area specifically, but in a lot of parts of California, RV side yards. So you've got your 2-car
mm,
garage or your 3-car
okay,
garage, and then you've got a whole RV space. So you can have your
nice,
own trailer or motorhome or
okay,
whatever parked
right.
behind your own gate. So I don't know that that's big in other areas. It's a trade-off. Like, are you going to go have to put it in a place where they're all stored and you don't get that on your property? But yeah, to your original question about new construction, you lose some of those extras, larger
Yeah,
lots,
right.
or things like that. But we have a ton of new construction because of that buyer pool that I was talking about. I
Yeah,
remember it
yeah.
now.
So we have a lot of new construction options, but like you said, there's a trade-off. Builders aren't building them on, half-acre lots anymore. They're going to set as many houses in that neighborhood as they can.
Yes.
And we're finding that to get new construction, you just have to keep going further and further outside the metro. So that growth just keeps happening further and further north. You can
Yeah.
definitely find new construction options closer in, but you're going to pay a ton for it just because they don't really have the land to build on.
Right.
So when they do build, that land is precious and they're going to charge a huge premium for it.
Do you guys have waterfront property there? Or are you guys landlocked like we are?
Um, we are landlocked, but there's a huge lake north of Atlanta called Lake Lanier,
Oh,
which is a huge man-made lake here in Georgia. And so we have a lot of lake properties and
okay.
lakefront homes there.
Okay.
But yeah,
All I know about Atlanta is Buck.
Buckhead.
Yeah, it's bougie, right? Buckhead is like where all the big dog, like the baseball players and whatnot.
Yes. Yeah.
Buckhead is, that's all I
Yeah.
know about.
There's a lot of great restaurant shopping, lots to do. And, but, for me, I tell clients that I like to go in there every now and then, a few times a year to go to some event or eat at some great restaurant. But
Yeah.
I definitely would not want to live there just with the traffic and getting around,
Oh, it's like right in the middle of all the things.
Yeah. And, it's, yeah. Yeah.
It's bougie, right? It's
Yeah.
just a bougie place to be, right?
That's
Everybody,
right.
we got a bougie part of town too. Everybody's got one.
Yes.
I like to go there, and then I like to go to my TJ Maxx and then buy my stuff, or at
Yes.
Ross. I like,
That's right.
okay, that's cute, and then let me go see if I can find it over at the store that I will spend money on.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
yeah, like
Very,
the
very
boutiques
much.
and that. What
Very
was I
much.
going to ask you? What is your price of gas in the Atlanta metro area? What did you just pay?
So like 3.20 a gallon.
We can't be friends. We can't be friends. I think yesterday I was at Costco and I saw it was 4.29 at Costco. Y'all have Costco, right?
We do.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, our Costco, and Costco is notoriously for being, cheaper than the
Right.
average place.
Yeah.
4.29 at Costco.
Wow.
So
And then
crazy.
one thing, so you mentioned gas prices, which I thought this was a great talking point. And so I just did a little bit of research. Um, I guess out in is it normal to get like a discount if you're paying cash?
There are different prices for paying cash depending on the station. Mhm.
Okay.
It's
So
not
here that's
it's
not
not a
really
discount. I wouldn't go that far to say discount.
okay.
It's maybe, by the time it all flattens out or whatever, it might be a couple dollars cheaper after you fill up your whole tank for $120. You
Okay.
might be like, "Oh, wow, I only paid 117." I mean,
Yeah. So that's not really a thing here in Georgia. Occasionally you'll see the gas station that
oh,
advertises it, but no, it's not really a thing.
yep. Well, okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. Wait, you have one price for all gas?
I mean, like for unleaded,
Not those
yeah,
like the
yeah,
89, the
no, yeah,
92,
just
not
yes,
that.
just one
Like,
price.
it's
There is no advertised cash price. Yeah.
oh,
Yes.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I wonder why
Um,
it is like that.
yeah, Alex has a good question. What is the average water bill for the average home there in Bakersfield?
So some of Bakersfield is metered and some of it is, what's the other thing? Not metered, flat, like a
Okay.
flat fee.
Right.
So it can be hundreds of dollars, or it depends on the size of your house, obviously. And if you're metered or, it's not level pay. Why can't I think of it? I can't think of the term. Anyway, you either have like the meter that's like, oh, I'm doing
Right.
laundry at
Yeah.
3:30 and I'm using more water at a more prime time. But uh, roughly a couple $100 a month
Okay.
on average. Why? What's yours?
So where I'm at here in Gainesville, we our water bill is like $20 a month.
We really cannot be friends anymore.
But
That
there
would
are,
be the cost of living, right? That's the stuff that has
yes,
me sending my clients to you
right,
saying, you know, who's going to help you settle in the North Metro Atlanta area? My
yeah.
girl, Sarah, because
But there
cost
are
of living,
definitely
it makes a difference.
municipalities where it's a little bit more. So
Yeah.
like my great agent partner that works with me, her name is Maitland. She lives in Flowery Branch, which is just south of where I live. And she lives in the city limits there, which is a different type of water system.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it's just her and one other person living in a townhome, and their water bill is like $70 to $90 a month. And I'm just horrified by that. That's so expensive. But I think
I'm
most
like, I'll
families,
take 70. I'll take $70 water bill, please.
yeah, I think most families around here, you're probably looking at, between $50 to $100 for your water bill.
I
Yeah.
have no
And
words.
there's no peak charges or anything like that. It's just
What?
here's, yeah.
You
So
can
yeah,
run your dishwasher at 4:30
whenever
and
you
it's
want
the
to.
same
Yeah. So
price
that's not
as
something that
when
we
you
think
run.
about, or
Ah,
when we do our clothes. Yeah. No.
ah.
Yeah. That would be a very hard adjustment for me to get used to have to think about the cost of having things on.
Yeah. Well, and that's back to the solar conversation. So that's one of the misconceptions that people go, "Oh, I have solar. I can do this and I can turn the lights on and everybody can be on a device and it won't make a difference at all." Ha ha ha. Oh, yes, it does. It makes a difference big time because you have to even if you have solar, right? So you have your payment or
Right.
whatever to the electric company because we're heavily regulated. Doesn't sound like you guys are. We have a lot of regulation and we have the main companies throughout the state. And so you're regulated, and then even if you have solar, it drops it a little bit, but then if you start to do the laundry and the whatevers, you go above, then you have to pay that offset. So people go, "Oh, I have solar. I can do this." Blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, "Well, what is this offset?" And it's like trick or treat. You still need to maintain your pay attention to those because it can make a huge difference. It's
Wow.
amazing, huh?
Yeah. What about DMV fees in California?
Well, I understand that some states, maybe Georgia is like this. We don't have property taxes for our cars. We have, you're just paying your
Right.
DMV fees. Do you guys have is it property tax there?
So, yes and no. Someone left a question or comment on a recent video, and it got me thinking because I've never really thought about this before. They said, "Yeah, but car taxes are so expensive in Georgia." So, a
Oh,
couple of years ago, Georgia made a switch from an ad valorem tax that they would charge every year to
okay.
just a flat fee.
Okay.
So, it used to be that you were taxed every single year on your car based on the value of it, all that kind of things.
Right.
Now, you just pay a one-time fee whenever you purchase the car or whenever you register a car in Georgia.
Right.
So it's 3% of the value if you're bringing a car in.
Oh,
Um, so it's that one-time fee, and then every year to renew your tag, it's like $50, which I think is a much better way because, I remember paying hundreds of dollars every single year for your tag because that was the
yeah.
ad valorem tax, and the only way to get your car tag was to pay the ad valorem tax bill.
Right.
So
We don't have an ad valorem tax. Do you guys have to have your cars smogged there?
yeah,
Yeah. We have to have our cars smogged.
I don't even know
Uh,
what that means.
yeah. Air pollution.
Okay.
It's, it's adorable. So you have to have your car smogged every other year. So depending on if your tags are due and you have to have a smog, it can be significant because you can't get your tags until you pass a smog. It's the emissions that your car kicks out. So if I'm
Right.
driving a 1982 beater, it's
Yeah.
going to be a little harder to get that thing smogged and get the
Sure.
emissions, blah, 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 than if I'm buying a brand new ride. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but either way, whatever car I'm driving, I have to have it smogged and I have to have um I pay my renewal, my DMV fees.
And what's the cost of that?
Hundreds of dollars.
Okay.
Hundreds of
Every year.
dollars. And I didn't want to comment on yours. So is yours based on, like you were saying, you pay that whatever that fee is, not the ad valorem, the other one. Is that based on like the size of your car? So if I have a big old La Bamba car from 1978, or if I have like a Honda Civic, is it the same?
It's the same. It's just based on the
Okay.
value of the car. So whenever
Wow.
you go buy a new car in Georgia and you're
That's
registering that
lovely.
car in Georgia, they're collecting that tax up front. So just a
Uh,
one-time fee, and it's
yeah.
just added into the car purchase.
Yeah, we don't.
Um, if you're moving from out of state and you're bringing your car in, they're going to evaluate the value of that car, do 3% of that, and that's what you pay as a one-time charge, and then it's just $50. Now, there are some counties that do have emissions requirements, and you have to
Mhm.
get like emission certifications, but
Right.
um, I don't
Smog. You've
live.
never heard of smog?
I mean, I've heard of smog, but not getting your car smogged. But
Yeah.
here in the Metro Atlanta area, there's a handful of counties where you have to do emissions testing and get that sticker. But
Yeah.
I don't even know how much that is because I've never had to do it. So I
It's
don't think it's
so
anything like what you're having to
it
deal with.
it
So
always reminds me how beautiful our 10th Amendment is, because it's always power to the states. That
yeah,
is it's my favorite amendment because states can do what works best for their state. I wouldn't
yes,
say that smogging works best for my state, but, it's funny when you go from state to state and you hear these things, it's like, you've never why would you it's just awesome. I love it.
yeah.
That's a huge
The truth asked in Georgia, do you have to pay a monthly connection fee for natural gas, or is it cheaper to go propane if you cook with electric? Um, You can get propane, and I don't know if it's cheaper. Usually, if natural gas is available, that's going to be the most or the most economical way to go. Um, they charge you the gas fee based on usage, and I don't know if there's like a connection fee or a flat fee every single month, and then they add it on top. You can tell I don't have gas in my house. So, one thing to know is, at least here in the Metro Atlanta counties, there's a lot of areas where gas is not common. So that you're not always going to have the luxury of having gas as an option just because, we're from the South and they didn't really quite plan out these cities very well. And they don't really want to invest a whole lot of money to run a whole lot of gas lines. So usually the closer the neighborhood is to the actual city, the easier it is to get gas, or the more gas is available in homes. Um, if you're living outside of whatever the city center is, usually you're not going to have gas. So,
electric generally tends to be more expensive here when,
okay.
like, they're building new homes with all electric, um, appliances, and that
Yes.
freaks me out. I'm like, "Ugh, ugh,
There was
I
the
would
big
not."
kerfuffle about them wanting to ban gas appliances. Was that right?
Yes.
That made headlines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish it were I mean, it's laughable, right? Like, "Oh, what are you, crazy? I'm not gonna give up my
Right.
gas stove. What are you, nuts?"
Yeah.
But, yeah, or, tell people up in Lake Tahoe, beautiful Lake Tahoe, where they have these beautiful fireplaces that they use gas igniters, like, you can't tell them to not have that. 25 bucks emissions. You're
Thanks,
just
Alex.
rubbing it in now.
Alex wants to know if there's any nuclear plants in California.
Not operating. They shut them all down.
Okay.
San Onofre was down about it's on the way to San Diego. And, uh, for reasons unbeknownst to me, because nuclear is not scary. It is not as bad as it's being or has been sold to be.
Right.
Um, it can really help things a lot, but they shut it down. There was
Interesting.
one up in Northern California that was shut down long before that, long before I think I was alive. But San Onofre is the most recent, and it got shut down in the 80s. And so you just drive by these big things that are just ugly, sitting right there.
Yeah.
It's right there on the water. But
Funny.
we have a
Well,
beautiful coastline that you just look right
yeah.
up past it.
Okay. Well, Angel, thank you so much for joining me on the live stream tonight.
Thank you for
And I
having me.
so appreciate your wealth of information and knowledge. So, if someone is thinking about relocating to Bakersfield, how do they find you?
They can find me on the Living in Bakersfield channel. And you can also go to any of the social platforms. You can find me. You could call Sarah, and she'll give you my number.
Yes, I will.
Either
I'll
way,
contact
I'm everywhere. You cannot miss me. I don't. Mainly my two loves are Instagram and YouTube. So
Yes. So
yeah,
Angel
all
has
of
a
my
great
information.
YouTube educating, just like I do here in Georgia, all about Bakersfield, California, and the surrounding area. So make sure that if you're considering that you go like and subscribe to her channel and
Thank you.
reach out to her if you need help making that move out there.
And for
Um,
any of my viewers that are watching this, I would love to be able to hand you off to Sarah and know that she will take great care of you, finding you super cheap cost of living. Good night.
Utilities. Yes. Yes, very much. And if you haven't already liked and subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and do so. It helps me find more people just like you and make sure that you don't miss um, miss any content. I just realized that this is really funny. Uh, we misspelled California in the title of today's video. It's
Oh,
spelled California.
sure.
My assistant's gonna get a really great chuckle out of that.
Didn't you say you
Um,
used to be a teacher?
yes,
How about that proofreading?
disclosure, I did not write the title,
Oh,
but this is, you know,
it's all right.
they're definitely, I mean, I say they're moving here for the education, but maybe they shouldn't. I don't know. So we'll get that fixed
We'll
in
figure it
YouTube,
out.
but for you live viewers right now, you get to laugh
That's
along with me.
awesome.
Um,
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate this. It's been fun.
yes, thank you so much for joining me, and, can't wait to join you on your channel.
Yeah, we're gonna do it again.
All right, thanks everyone, thanks for
Thanks.
watching.
Bye.